All right. I started recording, these notes and stuff already, and then I was like, should probably put a content warning up here. So we're gonna be talking about, a lot of, we're gonna be talking about transphobia. We're gonna be talking about racism, homophobia, ableism, and or anti-autism. Talking about Sia, J.K. Rowling, all that stuff. So misogyny. So just a heads up of that. Anyway, so another Contrapoints video. I know. I keep like feeling like am I obsessing? I mean, I'm a big fan of Natalie's work. I've watched her videos probably more. I've rewatched them each one probably more times than I want to know about, and I find her ideas to be very inspiring. But I also don't want to come across as overly obsessed or like I don't want to keep like I feel like I'm leeching off of her, YouTube views and algorithm clout. I don't know how the algorithm works. Nobody does. But I wanted to she recently, like, I'm recording this on the same day that her video about J.K. Rowling came out, and I really want to talk about it because I watched it and it is really interesting and some things resonated with me a lot. So I'm not going to be talking about trans issues as much, um, as weird as that may sound, because I'm a cis guy, and it's not only just not my place to talk about them, but it's also like I don't know enough to talk about it. Um, so, but I think a lot of her ideas are broad, much more broadly um available to all forms of bigotry, and I'm specifically gonna be mostly talking about autistic oppression, or I don't like the term ableism for reasons I should probably make a whole video about because I don't really even anyway. But anyway, um, so the thing that I really liked, because about ContraPoints is video, because it like kind of solidified this like amorphous idea I've been having. I've been like, not even an idea, like an emotion. Like there's something there, and she like gave it a word, which is it's the idea of indirect bigotry versus direct bigotry. So direct bigotry, if you haven't seen the video, if you have, I'm sorry, but not everyone might have, or I don't know. Direct bigotry is the idea that the direct bigotry is like someone who knows they have a problem with a certain group of people. Someone, it kind of like what like Jean-Paul Sartre was describing when he wrote Anti-Semite and Jew. Um, Whereas an indirect bigot is the type of person to say, I'm not a racist, but, or I'm not, I have friends who struggle with same-sex attraction. It's funny in the comments of the autism, of the J.K. Rowling video, there's someone who was talking about like gave them flashbacks to when they were a Mormon, and I was like, ooh, me too. Anyway, so what like really is, if you look at autistic oppression through that lens, it is it's almost all indirect. It's almost all indirect bigotry. I have, like, the closest I've come to a raving street corner, fundamentalist preacher or whatever, is people throwing around autistic as an insult. And even that doesn't feel the same. Like, it's still hurtful, and please don't do it. Please stop doing it if you're doing stuff like that. But it's not like, it's it feels rooted in, I don't know how to describe it. It feels like okay, so let me back up. A big problem, probably the most common thing used in terms of in how sorry Probably the most common thing that is used to stigmatize and oppress autistic people is the idea that autism is a disease. Something that I actually, had to be told by a neurotypical like counselor that was actually not the case. Because there's so much like we need to do research into it, as in cancer research, and it's like autism isn't cancer, like it's there's a lot of pathologizing basically, it's and it's this like it treats autism like I think Autism Speaks slogan is just straight up you like it took our children away from us, we're going to take them back. So there's this idea that autistic identity is an invading force, it's this thing, it's not part of us, which it is obviously, I'm saying what that argument is saying. So autistic identity is seen as separate from, like you're a fallen version of yourself, a corrupted, and and so it's all like the form that it takes is almost always condescension or just like being accidentally, and so like a lot of people I don't think are really thinking about what they're saying. So and I would also actually, I was thinking about this and I was like, I think you could also, so there's bigotry and then there's the bigoted social systems. And I would, I'll just call it oppression from here on out. So I would argue that the difference that there's also a similar dichotomy between direct bigotry and indirect bigotry. So an example I would use would be like lack of access, bigotry, I meant oppression, direct oppression and indirect oppression. An example I would use would be in terms of misogyny, how misogyny is enforced. So lack of reproductive rights would be a direct force of oppression because it's something that is like you are physically stopped from having control over your own body. Whereas street harassment I would call indirect oppression because it's something that doesn't technically affect you, but it's still designed to keep you down and make your life miserable, and obviously it does affect you, but it's not like you aren't technically stopped from doing anything. Again, like that's not to say that it's not real or that it doesn't have effects, but it's not an encoded law designed that hurts women. Yeah, so this is, I guess, groundwork towards talking about Sia again. I gotta talk about Sia again because the response, there's actually, it feels like there's a lot of very like specific similarities between Sia and her movie and J.K. Rowling and her book. The difference being that like I don't think Sia is really, Sia isn't talking about stuff outside of the book, whereas J.K. Rowling has just gone full blown TERF. And the I lose my train of thought for 1 second and then it's like this compounding thing. It's a compounding anxiety and it makes it even harder. Because autistic rights isn't very well known outside of like parents, like ABA parents and autistic adults who hate ABA parents, and they're always, it doesn't seem to have a big broad discussion as opposed to transphobia, which is very, very resurgent now. I don't know why. And both of these people are doing terrible things. They are, systematically oppressing some of the most vulnerable people in society. And they're also like trying, like they're performing. I'm not gonna speculate on what's in their heads. They're performing as not doing that. They're, like Sia is like, oh, I've hired plenty of people on the spectrum, and it's like, but you're not being criticized for how many autistic people you've hired. You're being criticized because, according to, like, I found out yesterday. Well, that's a topic for another time. There's a recent leaked scene that like glorifies some truly like awful behavior, and so there's a big and justified backlash. But I will say that, a lot of times I look at people calling Sia the C word, and I'm like, no, don't do that, please. Like, sorry, I got something in my eye. I just realized that's a euphemism for I'm crying, but I don't want to admit it. But that I actually did have something anyway. I don't, you shouldn't, even, but I also get, I get why people are just, I understand why if you're not used to hearing about these issues and you don't really get the whole story, this can seem like it's just a wave of anger out of nowhere, and again, I'm kind of guilty of this. I'm not I've made videos, I've sent tweets, I've wrote reaction reviews, I have, piled on. I'm part of the pile on here, but I don't the first video about Sia I made was, I remember just this feeling of anger, but that was coming out of a deep-seated pain and despair. Her actions were hurting. They hurt me, and I felt like nobody but another autistic person would listen, and I just had to so I was just building and building, and I kept thinking about her, and finally I was just like, I have to make a video about this, or I'm going to break something. And so I was like, I made the video, and then I calmed down, and I still hate what Sia is doing, and I really want, I just wanted her to apologize. I just want, I don't want to just, but she's not going to, she's dug in her heels and isn't going to change. And that kind of feels like what happens with J.K. Rowling. I can't really condemn the people who are yelling at her on Twitter. Not like I can condemn the people who were yelling at Natalie. Which, oh boy, this is gonna be fun. Sorry. Why are people mean? J.K. Rowling, I don't want to, I can understand why people would be put off by some of the more angry and hurtful parts of this rhetoric, but I also am just I'm sorry, JK. I'm sorry, Joanne. You're just in this headspace of I'm this is the thing, is I'm are you curious at all? Why are you doing this? I don't understand. And the same thing with Sia. I mean, with Sia, honestly, it feels like she was trying in the last video, the first video I did about her. It feels like she knew that the Academy rewarded movies like hers, and so and she didn't exactly talk to any autistic people or think about it. And then when autistic people said, we would like you, we are asking you to not do this, and she was like, nah, screw you, I want an Oscar. That is the most plausible explanation for me. Anyway, I don't want to make this all about Sia. So I also, one thing that she said, that Natalie said, that I was very, that was very meaningful to me too, was she talked about the constant, because trans people live in a culture that so systemically devalues them, that they had a need for, they have a constant need for validation from, and I don't like, I mean, I'm just saying what I took away from what I thought she was saying, because I don't really personally know very many trans people. There's like one non-binary person I think they're non-binary. Anyway, it's I'm not gonna, not worth it. Not a good idea. But I was like, yeah, I can understand this need to constantly feel validated, because at least I can understand that as a concept. I don't know. I'm not saying I feel the same way that trans people do, because I don't know. But like, constantly growing up with like this one idea of what an autistic person is very like I feel like I'm going to see myself in it, regardless of what I do or what I, so like, so you've got, so like, I'm gonna take, if you've got this big over exaggerated, not informed at all, stereotype of an autistic person, or you portray them as like cruel and heartless and whatever, I'm probably going to take individual incidents where I've hurt someone's feelings, or when I've like had an outburst, and I'm going to see myself in that very harmful stereotype. And that's one of the reasons why I love To the Moon so much, is because To the Moon was like, no, here's a version of you, like here's a character who is, we don't explicitly say it's autism, but it's obviously autism. We just didn't want people to jump to conclusions, but like, they were like, here's a character who actually like reflects who you are way more, and I was like, oh my god, but like, it's still like, so it helped, and it helped me realize representation being a good thing on the whole, but the lack of, sorry, I'm like super like self-conscious about like every yeah, I feel like I'm criticizing myself before I've heard any other criticism, so criticize me in the comments. But there's this weird thing I've been noticing recently, where I watched Blade, and I've been watching Demon Slayer, the new anime, and Blade, the Wesley Snipes vampire movie, and I keep like trying to see myself in the vampires / demons. Like, I keep trying to read autism into it, and it's this weird thing where I'm like trying to make it fit, but it doesn't fit, and I'm glad that it doesn't fit, because it's not a good thing to be associated with being a vampire or a demon, like, like, I guess, maybe now that I think about it, maybe I'm trying to do something like X-Men, you know, because I could definitely see, you know, there's that line from Magneto, we don't need it, they want to cure us, we are the cure, you know, and that is something that I'm like, yes, you know, that should be we are the cure for humanity's problems, you know. But like, it's this super weird thing where logically, I know that I am nothing like a demon or a vampire, at least not publicly. No, I'm joking. But like, I'm trying to see myself in them. I'm trying to see myself in the monster, and not like in Frankenstein's monster where there is like a deep emotional, like, oh, I kind of can see why he's so miserable. I mean, like, on an emotional, like, I can understand the feeling of being like driven out of society, not directly violently in this case. But because I like, for reasons I don't understand. So, and that kind of reminds me of another ContraPoints thing that she talked about, but that's a whole nother. I want to keep this fairly limited. So like, yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's like the end of my notes. I really need to start. I don't know. I feel like if I should write a script, you know, to make but like then I want to do editing, and that would take a while. And anyway, it's a whole thing. I also kind of like the spontaneity that's involved with this. I mean, yeah. Sia and J.K. Rowling both have had their traumatic experiences. I actually talked about I'll come up on screen here, and a something that Sia went through in another video, but that doesn't, you know, like Mademoiselle Point said, the what was it? It was just because you have a sad backstory doesn't mean you're not a bigot or whatever. So yeah, it's funny. There was actually a lot of times, on a lighter note, this is a non sequitur, but there were a lot of times watching her video where I was like about to type in, you know, like, huh, like that sounds like straight up misogynistic, like something a TERF would say. And then she would say, yeah, and that sounds misogynistic, and I was like, oh yeah, thanks Natalie, you preemptively like saw my comment anyway. Yeah, so I don't know. I think that's everything. I might do a follow-up if there's like some glaring omission or something else I want to talk about. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a like. If you didn't like this video, maybe leave a comment and tell me why, instead of just disliking it. Or you could just dislike it. I mean, I'm not your boss, you know, but knowing why people want, you know, I'm doing notes now because people told me that I was taking too many pauses, and I probably still am, but at least I have like a thing to fall back on now. Although I'm at the end of my notes, so I'm just off the wall here. So I'm also realizing that I'm doing a lot of like my production is more similar to the people H. Bomber guy would like make fun of, but you know, surface level similarities. But be sure to subscribe if you want to be notified when I do more of these, and ring the bell. I upload very frequently, so maybe don't ring the bell if you don't want your notifications spammed. Or do if you want them to. I'm not your boss. Links in the description, Twitter letterbox, and I might as well link Natalie's video. Although you've probably already all seen it. Yeah, thanks for watching, I guess. I don't know, I feel like I've got this, I feel like I haven't explained myself adequately. That's the good way to put it. I feel like it's all just gonna sound like nonsense coming for me. So, leave me some questions, and I will, address them in the comments. Not in the comments. I'll probably address them in another video. I don't know. Thank you for watching, esteemed viewers, and I'll see you in another video. Bye-bye.